Hi, Lonnie Mackley here again. This is part 2 of Spirit-led 12 steps. And in step 1, or in part 1, we covered steps 1 through 3. And we'll try to get through steps 4 through 6 in this one. So step 4 made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And remember, the purpose of talking about these steps is not to talk about the steps so much as how the Holy Spirit will lead you through them. I want to encourage everybody listening to this to get baptized in the Holy Spirit and to turn your recovery over to His management, because He is the one that can really work you through these steps. Like I said before, I worked through them in treatment and those kinds of things, but unless the Holy Spirit works you through them, it can just be something you kind of stick in your head, which can come in handy later on. But experientially, we need God's direct leadership to work us through these steps. And step 4 is really about self-revelation. It's about self-examination. It's a lot about what's driving your addiction. Some of what's driving your addiction may be just that you're genetically predisposed. And like I told you before, my brother and I were both alcoholics. And my father was an alcoholic. But the strange thing is we never grew up with my real father ever. And we didn't know that he was an alcoholic. So these things can be passed down, I believe, and you do have to be careful of it. Some of it can be a chemical imbalance as well, where you just live in this constant state of anxiety, where once you finally take a drink of something or something that eases it, it doesn't have to be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be a habit, food, whatever it is. Once you get something that relieves that constant state of anxiety you're in, you're hooked. And so that's what happened with me. And with step 4, it's about learning all of about yourself, basically. And the Holy Spirit knows you better, much, much better than you do. He knows how to show you what went wrong where. And He'll take you back to your past, to your childhood, to even a lot of the things you forgot that traumatized you. And these things act like roots of pain and fear that drive an addiction. We use pleasure to control our fear, control our pain, and to ease it. And so He'll take you back and He'll speak truth into those areas. They're like roots of a tree of addiction that have been, feeding that tree of addiction, and the fruit, of course, being the addiction on the tree. And He took me back to, when my mother had abandoned us a lot when we were kids. We had a very abusive stepfather. We didn't even know he was our stepfather for the longest time, but he was very mean to us. And then, of course, I told you my mother was killed by a drunk driver. So there was just a lot of things that happened in my childhood that created a lot of pain, a lot of fear. And so He began to just take me back and reveal all of those things to me. Now, step 5, admit it to God, to ourselves, and to another being, the exact nature of our wrongs. And step 5 is really about being honest and confessing things to each other, to people about yourself. Not just anybody, because people gossip, they slander. But it's more about just being honest and not trying to hide things about your life or minimize. Like doing these videos, I have to be pretty honest and open about my life. It's about not dressing things up and trying to make you look good and make other people look bad. It's about not blame shifting, not making excuses, just being honest. But it's also about not dragging yourself through the mud or groveling about things. It's just about being truthful. It's about walking in truth and being willing to share that truth with others as you're led to do it, and just living a life based on truth. We've lived so much of our life based on lies because we're very fearful people. We're used to lying, we're used to manipulating, we're used to trying to control everything, and being open about things we many times interpret as being dangerous because we think that takes our power away. And in a lot of ways, people that are, recovering, they're like survivors, and they're just trying to do everything that they can to survive. For them, life is not, it's not something that they can feel that they can relax in. To them, especially if you have a chemical imbalance, you'll always be in a state of, fight or flight, and so you look at a lot of things as threats that may not really actually be threats. It's just how your body and your mind are interpreting it. And so step 5 is really just about being being open, being honest, being real with people. But also I want to caution you to, use discretion. You don't have to run around and tell everybody that you meet about every bad thing that happened in your life or every detail about your life. But you do need to be honest. You need to be what they call rigorously honest about the problems that you have and some of the weaknesses. You can't minimize it or play with certain things, or you could end up relapsed again. And so it's best to just be honest and to just tell people the truth about your past, and tell people the truth that if you have a problem with addiction, just live with it and just say, well, yes, it's something that God's helping me with, something I'm overcoming. But we can be. It's okay to be honest, to be real, and you won't lose anything. There's actually more protection in walking in truth than there is in walking in lies. Now, step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. And step 6 is about honestly being ready to let God change you. It's about being ready to let the Holy Spirit come in and to really begin to transform you from the inside out, rather than you just trying to change everything from the outside in. Because there's a saying that I think is pretty accurate. It says, wherever you go, there you are. And that's really the truth. You can move away from somewhere, you can make new friends, you can do all kinds of things. But whatever state that you're in, no matter how damaged or healed up you are, wherever you go, there you are. So it's better to deal with yourself, deal with the problems within you, and since you can't really do it, you need to let the Holy Spirit help you to do it. And wherever you go, you'll take yourself with you. So it's better to let God help you. You can't run away from yourself. And the best that you could ever do is to numb yourself with addiction. But whatever's there, it's best to face it, and best to let God change you and to let God help you. Because you've already seen what trying to change yourself produces. It usually produces very little, and it doesn't last very long. So we need to be very open to letting God change us. I'd encourage you once again to get baptized in the Holy Spirit. If you're not a Christian, just say, God, come into my life. I accept the sacrifice of Jesus Christ on the cross, and I ask you to be Lord over my life. And if you really mean that, God will come in, He will save you. What that means is you're just saved from hell, from the punishment that mankind will face without God, because Adam and Eve sinned in the garden. It cursed all of us in mankind. And then I want to encourage you to ask for the baptism of the Holy Spirit. If you read in the Bible, there's a book called Acts, A-C-T-S. If you read in chapter 2, God gave us the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit is the counselor, it says in John 14. He's the teacher. He's the healer, and He'll remind you of everything that Jesus taught. And He's the Spirit of truth. So Satan does his best to try to work as many lies into your life as he can while you're a child, try to hurt you and damage you, so that you can't really do anything with your adult life, so that you'll be so wrecked by the time that you're an adult, you'll just have a miserable life. But the Spirit of truth comes into your life, and He begins to show you where all these lies came from, that they are lies, that God's truth in the Bible is what you need to live by. And the Spirit of truth will trade all the lies for the truth. He'll trade all of your pain for God's healing. And He'll actually take all the bad things that have happened to you, and He'll make your trash a trophy, so to speak, so that you can help other people to overcome the same way that the Holy Spirit has helped you. But I want to stress again that you'll need the direct leadership of the Holy Spirit to work through these steps. It's something that you can try to do on your own, but unless it's something that's done from the inside out rather than the outside in, it may not be very lasting. Some people have success, and I'm happy for that. I'm glad for that. But whom the Son sets free, it says in the Bible, is free indeed. And when He sets you free from the inside out, you won't need a lot of outside maintenance. You won't need to do a lot of the same things that other people do, and it'll be a great blessing to you. So seek salvation, pray, ask God to come into your life, and seek the baptism of the Holy Spirit. So come back for part 3. This is the end of part 2. Okay? Bye-bye.